So now we are moving on to the next session, and the next session is handled by Mr. M. Nagaraju, who is the former principal of Government Degree College, Telangana, India, and he was a conscientious and popular teacher for over 36 years. He is a master trainer in communicative language teaching techniques, certified by the US State Department English Language Fellow Program. He has organized more than 200 training workshops for English lecturers working in engineering colleges, degree colleges, and polytechnics. He has also co-authored and edited for textbooks for university and polytechnic students and designed other learning materials. His contribution and commitment have earned him many awards and recognitions. We are very happy to have you among us today. The session is yours.
Thank you so much, Risha. I must begin by thanking the organizers, especially Dr. Frank, who has given me this wonderful opportunity to spend this evening with you, sharing some of my thoughts about this classroom management, with special reference to the soft skills and also teacher skills. I was listening to the earlier presentation on soft skills that are conducive to classroom management in the context of entrepreneurial perspective. Let me just begin my presentation by asking a question. I'm going to give a list of some 8 factors that contribute to effective classroom management. You have to identify and also rank them in the order you think they are essential to make your classrooms much more effective than what they are now. You need not rank all the 8 if you think that only 4 or 5 of them contribute to effective classroom management. You can rank as many, or if you think all 8 are important, you can choose all. For this purpose, you need to go to your mobile phone or laptop or whatever, Menti, M-E-N-T-I, in Google. Please go to Google and type M-E-N-T-I, Menti. It will ask you for a PIN number, and the number that you see on the screen, please type into that 6219246. Go to Google, go to Menti and type 6219246. And then you see this question to rank the factors that you see on the screen, the 8 of them, and you can rank them. Which do you think is the most important? Give the first rank.
Sir, could you kindly repeat the code, please?
You can see it on the screen, 6219246. I'm repeating it again, 6219246. It's a very simple thing. Just go to Google, go to Menti, type 6219246, and then it asks you a question. Rank the following factors in order of their importance to ensure that your classroom becomes effective. So go on ranking the ideas. If you think something is not relevant at all, you need not rank it.
Yes, sir. We can see.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can.
So far, eight people have given their preferences, and then I see that good and clear instructions is a top priority according to all of you. And also, some of you think that a good lecture is essential for effective classroom management. And the third in the list is questions to engage the students. And the next one you have voted is effective use of infrastructure, and also pair work and group work, and others take the next few places. I'm very happy and thank you for giving your preferences. Maybe I'll stop it in the next 1 or 2 minutes in case anybody would like to give your preferences, you may join. Otherwise, I'll stop in the next 1 minute. In the meanwhile, while others are voting, will anybody tell me, you can switch on your microphones, I think, why do you think a lecture contributes to effective classroom? The second preference that you've been, some of you have thought that lectures are essential. Anyone can speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you could allow me, I think lectures are the sole edit that establish a rapport between the teacher and the students, and that creates a dialogue. And without having a clear-cut lecture, I think emotional as well as academic rapport cannot be built up. That's what we think also.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy that you added dialogue in your lecture. And a lecture typically is one-sided. If you add dialogue to that, it certainly would be useful to make a classroom a little more effective if you involve the students. So let me stop sharing here and then let me come back to my slideshow. Yeah. So I was here and then I requested you to give your preferences here. You can see my screen, I think. So let me go. And of course, depending on the preferences that you've given and also taking out from my own experience as a teacher for a very, very long time, I taught at the graduate level and postgraduate level for more than 4 decades. And my experience tells me that these are a few things that we can do to make our classrooms much more effective in terms of the learning that happens in the classroom. The teaching learning becomes much more significant, and also it becomes productive, rewarding only when the learner learns what we teach in the class. So teaching cannot be one-sided. The learning must happen. So the outcome is whether learner has learned what you wanted to teach them or not. So I'm going to discuss very briefly some 6 things today, and I'll present them very briefly. And you can please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. You can ask me questions. You can give your comments. You can also what are these 6 things? The first and the second one that we are
Sorry to interrupt. Your voice is not clear, sir.
Sir, your voice is interrupting.
Sir, I think there is some problem in the, voice here. Could you kindly look into it?
The signal is okay. I don't know what exactly is the problem.
No.
The signal shows all right.
It's better now, sir. It's better now.
Thank you. So I was telling you that I'm going to focus on the
Sir, again disrupted badly. Sir, I think none of us is getting the voice. I think, sir, none of us is getting your voice properly.
Sir, you can recheck your signal. Maybe, some network issue there.
Yeah, your voice is proper now. We are getting your voice.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. It's fine now. It's fine now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've switched off the video so that some strength can say, let's move on. So I was telling you that they factors contribute to making our classrooms much more effective, and the students learn better in this taking. So let's see each one of them in a little more detail. When I
Sir,
say
still can't hear you
physical
properly.
setting,
Sorry to
oh,
interrupt,
sad.
sir. Can't hear you properly still.
I see. I thought maybe after switching off my video, you'll be able to
So we
At
can,
times you are
hear it
better.
clear.
sir, now
At
we
times
can
it is
hear you better.
Mhm. Shall I go
So I
on?
think
Yes, sir.
Right. So I was telling you that the first factor that I consider quite important to make our classes productive and to help students learn better is the physical setting. So every one of us, as soon as we go to a class, must take a look at the way the classroom is set. So what is the infrastructure available to us, and where the light is coming from, where the door is, what are the kind of furniture that we have in the classroom, and how the students are seated. And if we can make some small manipulations to that, if we can make some small changes whenever possible and wherever possible, if we make them, the classroom becomes a little more alive. Students can easily get involved, and students can certainly learn better. This is the idea. So not all classrooms to teachers' intervention in terms of manipulating and maneuvering the. In some classrooms, for instance, the furniture is fixed and we hardly can move them, we hardly can do anything with them. But wherever teachers have freedom to move furniture, experiment with that. So try different possibilities and try different combinations, permutations. Sometimes, of course, you can even take your students outside the class for organizing activities, especially if they are language related activities. And I think there is plenty of, colleges allow that kind of freedom to many teachers. And then if you do that, I think your classes will become much more productive. This is the first idea that I'd like to present to you. And I do it whenever I go to a class. One of the first things that I do is I take it where the windows are, where the doors are, where the blackboard is, where the light is coming from. And if I make some small changes to that, I think the involvement of the students and the attention of the students is greater. I can hold their attention easier. Has it happened to you also in the class? Just say, yeah, if you have access to the chat box, you can say yes or no. If you have ever done this, or if you have any such experience, you can just confirm that this contributes to more effective classroom management. Or you can even switch on your microphones and say, have you ever done that?
Sir,
Has
we
anyone done it?
Sir, we don't have the chat box access right now, but we
You
strongly do
can
agree
speak.
that this kind of changes do contribute, and we are doing at times. We do find it. It
Thank
is
you, Dr.
effective
Bharat.
at times when you are in. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bharadwaj. Especially if the classrooms are small in size, if you have 20, 30, 40 students, lots of, infrastructural management. So you can ask them to come close to each other, you can ask them to sit in a circle, you can ask them to sit in pairs, groups, or whatever. And sometimes you can change their places. You can set the classroom structure in such a way that the students get involved in the process of learning. Otherwise, students, in case they are not seated comfortably, or if you are not trying innovative techniques of managing the furniture that's available to you. When it's not available, we can't do anything. But when it's available and when it's possible, we can experiment with that. Maybe others also can contribute their experiences. I'll wait for a minute and then wait one or two other people to tell me if they have made any such experiment in their classroom.
Yes, sir.
Especially those, yes, please.
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Good
I
evening.
have experimented, sir. Just
What
we have so
exactly did
many
you do?
trees.
Pani Kumari, what exactly did you do in your classroom?
Yes, sir. Out of the classroom, sir, I made all the students come out,
Yeah.
and there are some trees, and I asked all the students to sit there, and we did so many activities there under the trees, sir. So
Excellent.
we had
Excellent.
that liberty, and we conducted such type of activities there, sir.
Excellent.
Yes,
That's
sir.
really wonderful. Once in a while, if you take the students out and if you hold the class outside the classroom, students would love that any level, graduate level, postgraduate level, school level, college level, wherever. I think students would love change. Students do not like to remain fixed to one place and taught everything in that single position. So if you experiment with that, I'm sure you will class will certainly become a little more productive. One more response, please. Anyone else? Anyone who has experimented with the physical setting of the class?
Sir, I think if nobody else is responding, let me again have this opportunity. I strongly feel that we are doing it almost every day, a bit or more, this way or that way. At times,
That's
we are arranging the category of the students. I mean, those who are not much involved, we find them that they are at the rear seat. So we shuffle them at the forward and
great.
vice versa, whatever the situation is. And
Yeah.
I think this page has in more than one way.
Perfect. That's really wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Pawan. Let's move on. So the second thing that I wanted to discuss with you is organizing some pair work in your class. So whenever possible, you put the students into pairs and then you can organize pairs also. I mean, using very creative ideas. So how do you put them into pairs? The easiest, of course, is asking them to talk to somebody sitting next to them. But you can also give them some numbers, some names, or some creative ideas you can use to put, especially as I told you in smaller class, it's possible. In very large class also, I've done it very successfully. When the class is very large, to save time, you can just ask them to speak to a person sitting next to. But see that everybody is participating in the class. You can give them a task and you can give them an idea and ask them to discuss, debate. What happens here is the classroom becomes, instead of just a one-sided lecture, the class getting involved, the students are getting involved, everybody is participating. Particularly in the language classes, students get enough time to use language. Language cannot be learned just by teaching. In fact, the most ineffective way of teaching language is teaching. So teaching cannot teach language. So students have to learn a language. So if they have to learn a language, they have to use the language. If they have to use the language, they have to participate in the class. And pair work is an excellent tool. And once you put the students into pairs and ask them to either discuss or debate or participate or get into some kind of discussion mode, either over a topic given to them or a topic chosen by them. Anyway, so if you get them involved, I think classes again become much more productive. This is the second tip that I wanted to give you. Something very similar is putting the students into larger groups. Larger in the sense, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 students you can put in groups and you can give them some very specific tasks. So for instance, if you are speaking, if you are teaching history or statistics or biology or physics or whatever be the subject, so you give them a topic and you give them some time and ask them to discuss and then maybe create a poster or make some notes, make presentations, give them a project. The project can be taken outside the class also, after the class. So these are things that can involve the students. And what happens here is the classroom elevates itself, becomes something interactive. It becomes student focused. So as long as I'm giving a lecture, it's one way. In fact, you might have seen that I'm trying to make this class also interactive because the topic is making the classroom effective. If I just give a lecture, perhaps it will not be that very convincing to you. And once I try these skills that I'm trying to teach you here, as we are practicing them, perhaps you're getting an idea of what it is like. Actually, I wanted to try some breakout rooms also, but this is not enabled again. Anyway, so this is group. Pair work and group work are collaborative techniques. So students are collaborating with each other. The main advantage of this is students not only just learn the subject, but they learn lots of soft skills. What are those soft skills that we learn? Can anybody tell me what soft skills do they learn when they get into pairs and groups? Anyone?
Yes, sir. I can state that the body language, the gestures, the communication is the main part. And not only this one, they also inculcate your listening and comprehending activity. So this also could add to the soft skills simultaneously.
Right. Right. I would like a few others also to speak. Of course, one point that Dr. Pawan has made is that they improve their listening skills, of course. So when they are talking to a smaller group of students, and especially their own fellow colleague students, so they are speaking and also they are listening. So listening to a colleague is always a better idea than listening to a teacher. A teacher perhaps is giving a lecture and perhaps it may not be at the level of the student. The lesson is perhaps pitched at the student's level, or sometimes it's not at that level. But when the colleagues, when his own fellow students are speaking to each other, I think the listening skills will certainly improve. Their leadership and their ability to get along with people, to discuss different points of view, to arrive at consensus, all these are life skills, all these are soft skills. So, I mean, even some kinds of conflict resolution, maybe it can even be time management. Suppose you have given them some time, they need to work and then produce results within that time. So these are some soft skills that they are practicing. Can anyone tell me if you tried either pair work or group work in your class? And how did you do that?
Sir, shall I say?
Evening, sir.
Merlin, please speak.
So as a language teacher, I'm a language teacher. So most of the students in my college are from very rural areas. So
Lovely.
I used to put them in a group always, and used to check, or I used to test as a mentor, whether do they have a very good gesture, posture, are they working on having a good personality or having a good leadership qualities or something like that, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Merlin. Pooja Rajeshri, you have raised your hand, I think. Would you like to say something about this? Rajeshri? No. Hani Kumari?
Yes, sir. Sir, in teaching meetings case, I asked the students in groups and I allocate the duties, sir. And one leader is there and they again allocate the duties to each one. And they improve their cooperativeness, sir. And they
Excellent.
understand other people and what type of work they have to allocate to each student. And they know the talent and the strength of each student, sir. In that way, I conducted some of the activities in the classroom by dividing the students into groups, sir.
Great, Pani Kumari. I like this idea because you said that there's soft skills like interacting with each other, knowing each other deeper, and ability to handle situations. And as I told you already, conflict resolution abilities and multiple points of view, handling multiple points of view. These are skills that we can easily develop. These are all soft skills. So we can develop them directly and indirectly when we are organizing group work and pair work. So to ensure that your classrooms are effective classroom management happens in your class, I think these are some tips that you need to keep in your mind and practice them in your class. Then the next thing that I'd like to speak to you about is the instructions that we give. So what are the precautions, or what kind of care should we take when we give instructions? My personal experience is most times what happens is teachers think that they have given good instructions, and the students perhaps have not got them the same way as the teacher intended them to be. The teacher says something and the students get it. It happens in real life also. It happens every day in our day-to-day lives. So we say something and the other person understands it or interprets it as something else. So to ensure that the students get exactly the way we intend something to be, so we have to have the ability to give instructions, very good, clear, precise, perfect. Sometimes, if necessary, we can even demonstrate them. We can use our body language to demonstrate, do like this, do this, do it a second time, sit like this, stand up, and then write down some such body language help students understand it better. You can even take an object to the class and then you can demonstrate to the class so that the class understands the instruction better. One thing that I always do is whenever I give instructions to the class, especially when I am working at the graduate level or lower, I ask one of the students to repeat the instructions. The advantage in that is when a student gives the instructions or repeat the instructions, students understand them better because it's language and also level at the student's level. So a student understands a student much better and easier. And once I realize that the student has given the instructions properly or has repeated the instructions that I've given properly, then I can move on to the activity that I intend to do. Otherwise, what happens? So I gave the instructions, I thought the instructions were good, but the student did not get them right. So the student is, not succeeding in the activity. And finally, I find fault with the students. Actually, if my instructions were not right, I am to blame. But I blame the student, always pointing out that the student did not get it right. How good you think you are at giving instructions? Someone else, maybe you can tell me, anyone who has not spoken. How do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of giving instructions? Merlin, you want to speak?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I would like to rate myself. I'll give 7 on 10, sir. Because
7 and 10. Okay. I have a question. I'm very happy that you've given yourself 7 and 10. So what do you do to see that your instructions are clear and easy and simple and perfect? What do you do? How do you do that?
I'll simplify my language, sir. Instead of using bombastic languages, I'll be more cautious in having diction, sir. So I understood that the choice of words is very important if I started conveying or if I want to pass some instructions to my students. And the next one is, I believe that even non-verbal communication is more effective than sometimes if I convey something in verbally, sir.
Yes.
So the choice of words, it matters for me to pass the right instructions, sir.
Thank you,
and
Merlin.
makes my
You said
students
two
understand.
things. One, you said is that you simplify your language. And two, you said you use your body language to make your instructions clear. Has anyone else done anything else? Anyone else?
Yes, sir. I would like to contribute, sir. I think asking one or two small questions in between about the instructions we have already delivered makes a good use of the communication. We get upon that our instructions have been clearly conveyed to the student. I used to ask certain questions about the instructions I have given out of these one or two small questions. If the students are responding properly, so that confirms us two ways. One, it is conveyed correctly.
So what Dr. Pawan says is that as you give instructions, while you give instruction or after you finish giving the instruction, ask them questions. For instance, I ask them to fold a paper. So what will you do? What are you going to do with the paper? Suppose I ask a question like that. So if they say that they're going to fold it, so they have got my instruction right. So you can have questions following your instructions to check whether the instruction has been got right or wrong. Thank you. Okay, so I think somebody is Pooja is raising hand, but she is not speaking. Pooja, would you like to speak? Okay, let me go on to the next one, the next factor that I think would contribute to making your classes much more effective. It's eliciting. Eliciting, simply put, is asking and not directly telling them. Whenever you want to say or give some information to the class, as far as possible, try to get it from the students, right? So what do I do? So I use questions, I use body language, I use pointers, I use some tips, I use some alerts so that the students get engaged in that and the students participate in that. So maybe as I am teaching my lesson, whatever subject it is, so I can directly deliver the lesson and then give them information. It's like feeding, it's like pouring knowledge into their brains. But by asking questions and by eliciting, what happens, the student gets ignited. We are igniting his mind to respond. So sometimes if you are a language teacher, for instance, you write, you draw a picture on the board and ask them what word comes to their mind. Or maybe you write the first letter of a word and ask them, what is this word? I have a 5-letter word in my mind that talks of this. So some clues like that we can give and get things from the students themselves. So again, what's happening is the moment you start eliciting from the students, students become alert. An alert class is an effective class. Simple. So students, when they are engaged, when the classroom is student-centered, automatically it has become an effective classroom. So effective classroom is something where learning is happening. So instead of just delivering a lesson, you are ensuring that learning is happening. And learning happens only when the students are actively engaged. Not all students, I mean, just listen and learn. Not all, I think if you know the concept of multiple intelligences or multiple learning styles, every student learns a different way. So some students learn by seeing what you write on the board. Some students learn by listening to you. Some students take notes and learn. Some students, I mean, unless there is some music or some sound, they listen to you and learn. Some students do not learn unless they get up and then they do something. So there are various kinds of students and in your class, and then everybody learns a different way. So eliciting is one technique that puts students on the alert, and then they get engaged in the process of learning, and it makes your class a little more effective. Moving on to the next item again, asking lots of questions in the class. How many questions typically do you ask in your class? Anyone? In a class of maybe 1 hour, suppose you have a class of 60 minutes, how many questions do you ask?
Sure, no certainty. We ask so many questions at times, but no class goes without asking many questions. That is the truth.
Excellent. So no class goes without questions. That's a brilliant way of putting it. And you ask many questions. Suppose you ask quite a lot of questions. Why do you ask those? I want other people also to participate. I don't know if they are there or not. Somebody else also should answer this. Why do you ask questions in the class? Sevali, Hazarika, please. Achha, she has left, I think. Sorry. Would anyone like to tell me why you ask questions in the class?
We can get multiple answers for our questions, sir.
Yeah. What are the possible reasons? What are the why you think that questions make your classes more productive? Do you ask them to just check their comprehension, or is there any other purpose?
Of course, first point is I need to know that whether the people have comprehended my questions or not. Second point is, I believe that if we started asking questions, that is one of the powerful methods to grasp their attention, and it helps certainly to develop their thinking ability.
Right, right. So to provoke their thinking, to check their comprehension, to get them involved, and to see that the students are actually alert to your class and paying attention. All these are the possible reasons why we ask questions in the class. Haruna, do you like to speak?
Yes, you asked a question, so I wanted to chip in, like, for reasons why student might ask question is for clarification. Maybe he couldn't get some particular information, or so he wants it clarified by re-echoing to the student.
Yeah, so once you know that they are stuck somewhere, or once they are not able to get along with what you are trying to tell them, so you can recheck, and then you can reorient yourself, or maybe you can help them fare better. I think another very important purpose that questions serve in the classroom is questions help you assess yourself. So, I mean, if many students are not able to follow you, if many students are not able to answer you, maybe there is something wrong with the methodology that you're using, or maybe the speed at which you are going, or maybe something in the process of the teaching learning that's happening in the classroom. You need to look at yourself. It helps us look at ourselves. So if for instance, I'm asking these questions, only 3 or 4 of you are participating, and the others are not participating. So now I have to assess why others are not participating. One reason could be they are not near the camera, they have not, their microphones are not on, or maybe they are not, following what I'm telling them. Maybe there is something wrong with me, or something wrong with the system, something wrong with the text, something wrong with the process, anything. So it helps more than assessing the students, more than engaging the students. Questions also help us assess ourselves. At the end of the class, I can assess myself better by asking lots of questions in the class. So whether my class has gone well or not, the proof comes from the questions that I've asked and the answers that I've received. Right. So make it a habit to ask lots of questions. And then when you ask questions, there is something else that you need to keep in mind. Quite a lot of us ask questions which are just yes, no questions. Are you following me? Are you with me? These questions are just useless questions. They don't serve much of a purpose. So if you think that you are asking 100 questions every day, but all these 100 questions are simple yes, no questions, are simple confirmation questions, are questions that do not need any response at all, they are not good questions. So questions must be thought-provoking, and questions must be slightly, higher order thinking, provocative questions. So students must be made to think on the question and answer that. For instance, the first question that I gave you, you had to rank them instead of just identifying. I asked you to rank them. So what did you do? You took 1 or 2 minutes to time to think which one gets how much priority. So a question that demands your attention, your participation, your thought is what we did. Sadavel, do you like to speak? Sadavel has raised his hand, I think. Okay, no problem. So I was telling you that the kind of questions that we ask also makes a lot of difference to the class. So it should not be just very easy questions, not all very tough questions. So every student must get an opportunity to participate in the class. And when you ask questions, you must take a lot of care. So whom are you asking? Is it a question which is directly pointed to one student or the whole class? Then why are you asking that question at that point of time? What is the answer you are trying to elicit? You must know the answer before. Of course, there are also questions which are experience. For instance, if I ask you a question like, what do you think about that? What kind of experience do you have with asking questions? Suppose when I ask questions like that, there are multiple correct answers. For everybody responds to that in a different way. So instead of a fixed answer, multiple answers are possible. So as far as possible, try to ask a lot of that kind of open-ended questions in your classes so that every student can participate, every student can give a different answer. So questions again are another tool that you can use. I'm coming to the last two, games and activities. Again, whatever subject you are teaching, whatever level you are teaching, try to have some activity in your class, try to have some game in your class, something where students, get up and then that your classes certainly will become much more effective. So the whole idea is to make our teaching effective and to make learning happen. So if learning has to happen, it cannot happen in a very very dull kind of a class where students hardly have to do anything. All that they need to do is sit down attentively, and in some classes even silently and without opening their mouths, without doing a thing. And I think learning does not happen like that. So learning is a dynamic process. Learning is an active process. So a student cannot learn things passively. There may be a very small section of students who just like to sit there and then very quietly but very carefully listen to you, and that kind of learners may be there, but there will be very, very few of them. But in a classroom, typically a lot of students, especially the young students, so they would love to engage themselves in the class. And engaging the students in the class happens best when you have a game or an activity. So again, whatever subject, irrespective of the subject that you're teaching, see that there is some game element, some activity is thought of in the classroom. Right. The last one, I think I have another 5 minutes left. So the last one, technology. I mean, to the possible extent, I see a lot of you are very young teachers. I am sure you're all tech savvy, most of you. And I'm also sure that all of you perhaps are using whatever tools are available to you in your colleges. Many colleges these days are equipped with the latest technologies. They have not only just LCD projectors and screens and slideshows and all that, but they have advanced technologies available. Many colleges where I go now have digital boards and I mean lots of other technologies, lots of other softwares, technologies, etc. So to the possible extent, whatever you know you use, and these days with blended learning, online learning, Zoom, Google Meet, and all kinds of technical tools available to teachers, if we exploit the resources that are available to us within the college and as well as outside, I think our classrooms again become much more productive. So if our objective is to teach our students effectively, to make our classrooms effective, classroom needs to be managed effectively, I think these are a few things that we need to do. So just check what technology is available to you and whether you are using the technology that's available, whether you can bring in technology that's yet not available, but you would like to introduce it to your college or classroom. For instance, even if I take my mobile phone to the class and play a song in the class or play a simulation in my class or show a machine in the class, maybe some new tool that's available, maybe suppose I'm and then you can show the class. Even that works wonders. So these are small and in case in their mobile
Voice
phones the
disrupted,
class
please.
connection. Oh, sorry. Please, I'm really very sorry. You've been telling me, but I think this is a problem with the signal here. I don't know what has happened today.
No,
Typically, I mean,
it had been quite well for quite long, but just recently it got disrupted.
okay. Yeah,
It's again clear now, I think.
right. I've almost come to a close. So anyway, I'm really sorry for that. There has been perhaps some disruption with it. So this is where I'd like to stop, and I would like to leave you with some questions. Please ask yourself some of these questions and find out the answer and rate yourself. Like I asked you earlier, maybe on each of these questions, you can rate yourself where you are. If you have scope to improve, do I involve my students in my class? Do I use any collaborative techniques? Do I organize any games and activities in my class? Are my instructions clear and simple? Do I ask questions and do I elicit? And do I accept that students are different levels and different abilities? They're all, I mean, this is a heterogeneous group of class that I have. So I need to meet the needs of all levels of students. So if you ask yourself these questions and then arrive at your answers, and then you will have scope to improve. So that's where I'd like to stop, and then I'd like to give you my email address in case you have any questions. Please feel free to write to me at lionnagaraju@gmail.com. And the slideshow that you showed, of course, I showed you only a few of my slides in this lesson, but other slideshows you can watch on slideshare.net, Lion Nagaraju. So I'll stop sharing there. And in case you have any questions, please feel free to discuss.
Sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Can I ask a question now?
Please.
Okay, I'm Professor Bala from Malaysia.
Mhm.
I'm currently working as Professor for Human Resource and Industrial from University of Malaysia, Kelantan, which is 1 hour flight from Kuala Lumpur. Okay, I have a question to ask you. First of all, congratulations for your exciting and very fruitful discussion for this evening. My question is like this, Prof. Asian context, Asian people, they are, I mean, when they're young, I'm comparing with the students from European context and also from Asian context. So when we are young, Asian always to show respect, right? When the child born at the home, in the family, and then go to school and so on, I think they are also always respect. So we cannot challenge anyone else. We always like that. So the kids always be quiet, be silent. And that's why when they come to classroom also, they're just quiet because they feel that if they are asked question, they'll be punished. I mean, there's expectation and prediction by the children. And of course, the serious when they come to university. I'm already 25 years in university. I'm doing all kind, like what you said, trying my best, some students speak, some students are quiet. And I maybe is go back to the root. So we have to change our mindset, in the school, primary school and secondary school before they come to the university. Then you can see the reality to come at the university level. They start speaking. I mean, I'm talking from the undergraduate level. That's Asian values. In the same time, when I was in Europe, I stayed with a few European my professors' families. The father, mother challenge them, and they can ask questions. And of course, we do respect lah. So this happened during the school time. They can give you opinion and all this. So what is your advice to all of us? I think it happened to India, any country in the world, especially from Asian values versus Western values. Of course, I'm not saying Western they respect their parents, they respect, but of course they can ask questions, they can comment and so on. Whereas our kids here now, even worse, they're learning from the Facebook and online. They just go on that rather than they speak in their home. So I think they always scared that we'll be punished. So, Prof, what is your opinion on this, please?
I totally agree with you, Professor. That's exactly the problem. That's where the problem lies. So our culture, unfortunately, over the last few decades, has discouraged students from asking questions, opening their mouths, and discipline has been given too much of a priority, and discipline in the wrong sense. So we discipline our students. We think any student who speaks in the class, opens mouth, is treated badly. And right from our school, so teachers say, finger on your mouth, don't open, don't try to be too very smart, don't ask such questions. So even parents also, but this was not our ancient tradition, Indian tradition in the past. But today, unfortunately, most schools and colleges, do not promote, do not encourage students to involve and ask questions and then seek clarifications, etc. So in that context, what I told you becomes a little more important. So I think I suggested that our classes can become much more effective only if we ask questions and we empower students to ask us questions. So it's a two-way thing. So asking questions is the first part of it. So the teacher asks the questions and one student answers, and then we stop there, and then the other students do not answer, like it is happening today. So many students are just silent spectators and they don't participate in the class, and that's way. So if the students are empowered to ask us questions, so I not only just give time, but I ensure that my students participate in the process of discussion, and that's where that group work, pair work is a little more useful. So when they are sitting in groups, for instance, each one asks another a question, each one finds an answer, each one discusses, and they arrive at some consensus. And that is a process of discussion where more students are empowered to participate. As long as I'm lecturing, it's a one-way process. Even if I ask questions, and I was telling you the difference between direct questions and indirect questions. Direct questions, what happens? So I ask one student, I take the name of one student, Merlin, will you please answer this question? So only Merlin answers that question. What happens to the rest of the class? So if I convert my questions into indirect questions, so if without naming a student, and I throw the question to the class and promote more participation, and you might have seen today, I was also stopping some students. That's not exactly very kind way of doing it, but I was stopping some students who are already participating. I was inviting others who have not so far participated. So there are tricks of ensuring that students participate. But anyway, questions are an essential way of making classes more productive. Thank you very much for asking that wonderful question.
I have a question, sir.
Pani Kumari, you have a question, it seems.
Sir. Good evening, sir. Once again, sir, I'm very happy that you have given a fabulous lecture, sir. And so far, I feel that it's not correct, and because many of the people, they objected me not conducting the activities in the class. But after listening to your lecture, I feel that it's correct. Whatever other people they feel, and it's the correct procedure to encourage the students by conducting these activities. And actually, I don't want to ask any questions, sir, but I want to appreciate you for giving this wonderful lecture. And another one, I think you missed the point, but I have observed in your lecture. And when one person gives the answer, you have appreciated that person, sir. So it
Yes,
really gives a lot of encouragement and motivation. I want to follow that one also. That's why I want to tell about that point to you, sir. Thank you for
Thank you,
giving
Panikumari.
excellent, sir.
Thank you, Panikumari. To quickly answer both your points, one, you said that activities must be organized in the class. Again, whatever be the subject. So activity need not always be taking out the students out of the class. So it can be a very simple thing. Even, I mean, you for instance, you can create a game on the spur of the moment. You can, even if you ask your students to snap their fingers, they're allowed to. For a purpose, not just the game. It must be related to the class. So you can ask them to sit up, move around, talk to somebody, engage themselves with something else. You can ask them to take out a paper, do something, raise their hands, some such thing. So this involves them. The second thing is, I mean, engaging them in the classroom can easily happen if you know that, I mean, teacher tricks. So I think some points that I've made are really very useful, but you can have your own creative ideas to add to that. See, the whole idea, the teacher, when you go to class tomorrow, at the back of your mind, you must carry this one single question with you. Why am I teaching this lesson to my students? What is the outcome I'm expecting? And how do I know that I've achieved that outcome that I was expecting from this class? Is there a way I can check whether my students have got what I wanted to learn? So if you go with these kinds of questions and assist yourself, I think a lot can be achieved. Merlin, you have a question?
Yes,
Merlin?
sir. Yeah. How can I develop the attitude of my students? If they consider language a barrier, how could I help them? Can you please give some points?
The easiest answer to that question is, if your students are not very good with their language, please don't stop them. Please don't point out the mistakes to them. Please don't cut their flow. I mean, allow them to speak. Let them become fluent first. So there are two things that we can achieve in a language class. One is fluency and one is accuracy. So in a class where students are not really good with the language, so you can, I mean, you can bear with that inaccuracy, that grammatical errors they make, that struggling they are going through, and then you can just promote a lot of fluency. Let them speak first. Let them build courage. Let them participate. And gradually, at the end, every day also, end of the class. I don't know if you're a language teacher. At the end of the class, you can take 2-3 minutes without pointing the finger at any one student. You can tell them, oh, these are some mistakes that students are making. You can focus on them. So this is a correct sentence. This is the wrong sentence. So you don't, instead of pointing out, oh, this is the wrong sentence. This is not the way it's spoken. So you can correct them generally.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed your session and it was very informative, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Marlene.
I have a question, please.
Yes, please.
I have a question to ask Doctor.
Yes, Ms. Harun.
Doctor, yes. I know that you are not a technocrat. I mean an architect, but I want to test to see whether you have a fair idea of this question. What is the appropriate square meter of a classroom for effective teaching and learning to take place?
Instead of talking about square meters, square feet, whatever, there must be enough space for them to move about, sit comfortably, and also there must be enough opportunity for them to interact with each other. Just keep this in mind. Don't go too much about, I mean, that as you already pointed out, I'm not an architect, not an engineer, and not a builder. But my concept is there must be enough space for them. So they must not be too very congested. It must not be, I mean, crowded. The classroom should not be crowded. And for instance, if you want to organize an activity and if they cannot even move about, how do you do that? I'll give you one practical experience of mine. I was working in a government college where there wasn't enough infrastructure. My classroom had fixed furniture, which was desks, so fixed desks. So when I wanted to organize, and this I'm talking about some 15, 20 years ago. So when I gave an activity to my students, there were 3 people seated on a bench, and I wanted more people to talk to each other. I wanted 5 or 6 people to talk to each other. So I asked my students to turn around and sit with their legs inside those desks. That was, I mean, a little inconvenient, but they enjoyed doing it. Students love doing those kind of antics. And then when they sat with their legs going inside those desks and they faced each other, each desk facing the other desk, I think it became quite successful. So we can think of some creative ways of using the space that's available.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. Well understood. My next question is, for effective teaching and learning to take place, does it depend on these factors? 1, the number of students in the class. 2, the number of hours of teaching. 3, the level of experience of the teacher. Which one supersedes the other, and why?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes to all the 3. So the number of hours, the number of time that you spend with the students, and the kind of students, the level of the students, the number of students, the size of the class, everything contributes to the final outcome of the class. The only thing that you have control over is what we are discussing today. Unfortunately, except in some autonomous colleges, teachers have very little freedom to make changes to the curriculum, the size of the class, the furniture in the class, the setup in the class. So I cannot change the blackboard that I have. I work in a college where all that I've got here, blackboard. Can I change that? I cannot. Suppose the college takes 100 students in my class and the classroom hardly is enough for that. I mean, I cannot change that. So there is very little freedom that I have, very little control over. I have lots of things. But there is one thing that the teacher has control over, the 6 points that I made. So I can make my classes irrespective of the number of students, irrespective of their levels, by asking a few more questions, by eliciting a little more, by giving a few more good instructions, by organizing a little activity here and there. So these are things that I am presenting from the teacher's point. What can the teacher do? That's what I'm talking about today. So in case I have a dream that all classrooms must be only 20, 25 strong. So if I get a class of 25, that's great, with enough space. But unfortunately, I do not get that. When the classroom is actually ideal with 25 students, the real classroom has 100 students, and the last student cannot see what's written in the board. They cannot hear me, and I don't have any microphone in my class. And these are all, I mean, physical difficulties that I have to overcome them. How do I overcome them? So by trying some of these things, maybe effective monitoring of your class, and effective organization of some activity in your class, effective utilization of the resources that are available. Because you can ask for more, but there is no guarantee that you'll get them. Arun, I think I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 more last questions, or I don't know if it's time.
So I am Zinu Ziyan.
Yes,
I am
please.
working as an English teacher in CBSE school for 4th and 5th students. And I have encountered a problem in students is many of the students lost their attention in a few seconds. So what is the remedies to improve their attention?
Again, you are talking about a problem over which you do not have a solution. See, if students do not attend the class, the teacher has very limited control over that, except making your classes a little more interesting and ensuring that the students love you so much, love your subject so much that they come tomorrow. But it's a principal's job, it's a management's job, it's the college's job. So your job, your control is, your role is limited. What is that role? So you teach best to the students who have come. instead of worrying about those who are not coming, suppose only 20% of the students have come, you do your best to that 20% of the students. And most likely, these 20% students will continue to come because you have been a great teacher, you are doing wonderfully well, and you are helping them, you are supporting them, you are friendly with them. And naturally, so maybe a few more will join, and then you'll become a popular teacher and everybody will come. So, I mean, don't try to do something that you have no control over for the time being. That comes a little later. I'm asking you to do something that you can easily do.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenu. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question, Jenu.
Sir, I have one more question. How the teacher can contribute to the society? I have encountered that you have donated blood in 75 times, and you have conducted 100 blood donation camps. And how the teacher can contribute to the society?
Thank you, Jenu, but I think that's outside the scope of today's class. But still, because you've asked me, I mean, at the personal level, do all you can. At class level, let your students do whatever they can do. And see, life is giving back to the earth, giving back to the community, at least a part of what we have taken from them. So if you can sow the seeds of kindness, sow the seeds of empathy, sow the seeds of love in the minds of your students, I think a lot can be achieved. And at our own level, of course, nobody stops us from doing some good things, whatever little we can do. Even, of course, teaching itself is a noble profession, and then we are already doing wonderful, and we are contributing to the society in a big way. So if you can donate blood, do it. If you can donate a little money, if you can be charitable, do it. If you can visit a home for the aged, please do it. If you can help someone around, please help it. I mean, there are no limitations on that. It all depends upon your attitude and also the way you take life. I think there is plenty that teachers can do. Starting from helping a weak student, I think that's the easiest that we can do. Spending 10 minutes extra with a weak student and helping the student is big service, because how it's going to change the career and the future of that student, phenomenal. It can be, a life-changing effort that you make there. From there, I think you can just take up a simple task like promoting. You suppose you cannot donate blood, you can promote blood donation, you can promote eye donation, you can promote body donation. There are so many things that we can do. You can choose one area and you specialize yourself in that, you learn about that, you gain knowledge, and then you create awareness about that. Itself is a wonderful contribution to the community. Sorry, Jenu, I cannot answer you in detail.
Thank you, sir. Right. Okay, sir.
The admin may take a call whether we should stop here or we can invite a few more questions.
Participants, if you have any question, you can ask. Thank you, Mr. Nagar, sir, for your insightful lecture. Thank you, sir.
Can I say something? Okay.
Yes, please.
Hello. So I'm the veteran for this conference, for whole conference.
Lovely. I'm sorry, I don't know anyone here.
Yeah. I'd like to thanks to Prof. Naga. I think a former principal from Government Degree College, Telangana, India. Okay. Sorry for the. Okay. I think I see that you're done very good. You're very interacting. In fact, you showed a good example for all of us how to interact, question and answer. So you already done in this room, although we are virtually. But I think if I physically, even I think we're enjoyable so all the section. So on behalf of the Lavender Literature Club and also from the Cap Comrade Trust and Malaysian Industrial Relation and HR, I would like to say thank you to you and also other resource person. I think earlier my friend Dr. Solomon is from Ghana actually, but he's working with our university. He's also one of the expert in entrepreneurship. So, but I'm learning from all of you. I always be humble myself, and I like to learn from you and the young one, and everybody are learning. So it's a learning process. Okay, so that's why I really admire you, sir, because I love my student to ask questions. I'm waiting for they will come. That I think we need to. I try many ways, but of course, some speak, some quiet. And normally I go do personal discussion in the room. I call some student come to my room, and some of them speak up, and a lot of things they voice up in the personal room. But I think things will change in the years to come, and more challenges will come. So people like you, we need you always keep active your your life, don't stop. And I think we have to come back to other countries to talk about this. Huh? So thank you, sir. And also thanks to Dr. Frank, Jason, and Dr. Regina, who are the behind the screen lah. These people, especially Dr. Ganesan, who is also a lecturer from Malaysia. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. And see
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Professor Balakrishnan. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, the organizers. I must apologize for the poor connectivity. There was some problem with the network. I think some of you could not hear everything that I said. So sorry for that. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks a lot, sir, for this kind informative session. And I think many of the things which you have briefed today, they were not only objective, but they were quite informative. And almost all of them, we are exercising them, in our class. But this kind of lectures, to enforce it that what, sir, we are doing, firstly, that is correct. And number two, it puts a stamp that that experienced people like you, they have also done the same way, and they are enforcing it through this kind of lectures. Thanks a lot, sir. We would like to have such kind of lectures again, if possible. Reinforcing is must in our life. Reinforcing is must in our life. Even if we had been doing certain things, then also reinforcing it matters. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. Yeah. Can we leave now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.